Hillary Clinton's urging voters to get practical about who they want to be their nominee. But her campaign is facing a concerning reality as well. The results in Iowa were likely too close for comfort for Clinton, with all precincts now reporting Clinton beat Sanders by less than 0.3%. The Iowa Democratic Party declared the contest the closest in Iowa Democratic Caucus history. Nancy Cordes has the latest from Keene, New Hampshire.
I am so thrilled that I'm coming to New Hampshire after winning Iowa.
The first woman ever to win the Iowa caucuses did it by 0.2%.
Senator Sanders, are you conceding the race in Iowa?
The last that I saw is we were 4 delegates down. As I understand it, there were some precincts actually where delegates were won with a flip of the coin. So we want to take a look at that.
At least 6 precincts broke a tie with a coin toss.
Hillary Clinton.
The large turnout, evenly split, caused challenges elsewhere, too.
We should do a realignment.
In the end, 84% of young voters under the age of 30 went for Sanders, but 58% of caucus goers were 50 and up, and they went overwhelmingly for Clinton. The Granite State is rockier territory for Clinton. The latest CBS News battleground tracker shows Sanders leading in New Hampshire by 19 points. His democratic socialist message plays well with the state's large independent population.
It sounds to me like you're ready for a political revolution.
Sanders also has something of a home field advantage here in New Hampshire. He is from neighboring Vermont. He's been representing that state for decades, and so they know him pretty well here in New Hampshire, Contessa. But Clinton has deep roots, too. After all, it was here in New Hampshire 8 years ago that she staged a surprise comeback after a stinging loss in Iowa.
Okay, so here's Bernie Sanders going back to his home turf in New England without, it doesn't sound like, internally having resolved what happened in Iowa.
He definitely has not resolved what happened. When we talked to him today, it was really clear that he wants to view this as a draw. He really wants to view it as a tie. And a lot of people feel that by and large, it is one. But, you know, there's no crying in baseball. At the end of the day, somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. And in this case, by all accounts, including by the most important account, which is the Iowa Democratic Party, Secretary Clinton did win in Iowa by 0.2%. What Sanders told us today is that he's a little concerned about irregularities, about certain precincts dealing with a tie with a coin toss, which is allowed by caucus rules, believe it or not. And so as of right now, there don't appear to be big concerns in Iowa about the results. And I think in the end, he probably will concede the race. I think it's just probably emotionally a little difficult for him to do that right now, especially when he came so close.
Yeah, and CBS News political folks advise us that coin toss is just one of these interesting rules that the Iowa Democratic Party uses to choose how they split out the delegates. And though it is eye-raising, it is not in any way, shape, or form illegal or unethical or immoral.
Correct. You know, if you've got 7 delegates to dole out in a given precinct and you've got 2 candidates who tie, then what do you do with that 7th delegate? Who do you give it to? And I guess they decided long ago that the way to solve a problem like that is with a coin toss. Earlier, it was reported that most of those coin tosses went in Clinton's favor, and so that caused some concerns in the Sanders camp, too. But since then, we've learned that there have been even more coin tosses than we even knew about. Apparently, you know, a plague of ties broke out across the state, and some of those went for Sanders, too.
What about the Clinton campaign? How is her organization and her staffers, her volunteers, feeling going into New Hampshire, having had such a tight race against Bernie Sanders in Iowa? That was certainly not what was expected several months ago.
I think there's a lot of goodwill towards Secretary Clinton here in New Hampshire. They feel that. She had an enthusiastic crowd in Nashua today, but they know that it's going to be an uphill battle. They know that they're playing on Sanders' territory. And so I think here you're going to see her take a gentler approach when she talks about him, because there isn't a lot to gain from trying to tear him down. She made one very oblique reference to him today in her speech, talking about, that the voters of New Hampshire know how to assess plans and size them up and see if they're realistic or not. That's kind of her standard knock on Sanders and his, what she calls his pie in the sky ideas. But she really didn't mention him by name, and she kind of left it there. And then she talked about herself in a very positive way. And I think that that's kind of what you're going to see from her here. They just want to have a good finish, a strong finish, and then set their sights on South Carolina and Nevada.
All right, Nancy, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Contessa.
And be sure to tune into CBS This Morning. Wednesday, Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders will join Charlie, Nora, and Gail.